A cheap 9mm can save you money, or it can make you pay twice. That's the part nobody at the gun counter wants to say out loud. Sticker price is only the first hit. Then comes the trigger you hate, the sights you replace, the mags that cost more than they should, the holster drawer that turns into a damn junkyard, and the pistol you sell 6 months later because budget turned into regret. So these are the 7 best budget 9mm pistols I'd actually buy in 2026. Not the cheapest ones I could dig out of the case. The ones that keep the price down without making the whole gun feel like punishment. Some are ugly, some have baggage. One makes more sense than pistols wearing fancier logos. And the top pick is the one that surprised me most, because it feels less like saving money and more like finding out everyone else overpaid. The Ruger Security 9 is the gun people skip because it doesn't make them feel like they bought something special. That's usually where the first mistake starts. Last month, my cousin moved into a place outside Fort Worth and started talking himself in circles. He'd never owned a handgun, so every pistol in the case looked either too cheap to trust or too expensive to admit he didn't need. The Security 9 sat there like a plain work truck next to polished showpieces. He bought it anyway, right around $300. Same afternoon, we were east of the city. Heat coming off the benches, mixed 115 and 124 grain ammo dumped in the mags, and I expected at least one budget gun apology. Rough trigger, weird feed, something annoying. Nothing showed up. The slide ran easy for him. The gun stayed boring. 15 yards, new shooter nerfs, sweat in his hands, and his groups tightened enough that he started grinning like he got away with something. That's the part gun snobs hate. Sometimes the simple pistol does the simple job and leaves your ego standing there looking stupid. It's not flashy. The trigger is just manageable. No fancy slide cut, no match gun attitude, no counter candy. But as a first budget 9mm, the Security 9 saves money without feeling like punishment. I still don't think quiet means proven, but it earned its spot. Too much gun for cheap money usually means somebody buried the catch. The Tisas PX9 Gen 3 gave me that rotten feeling the first time I saw it. Full-size grip, serious capacity, optics cut, usable controls. All sitting in the budget lane like nobody wanted to explain the math. That is where I get suspicious. Cheap pistols do this all the time. They shake your hand at the counter, then pick your pocket later with a lousy trigger, weak mags, bad support, or some dumb part that makes the whole deal feel crooked. So I ran the PX9 Gen 3 like it owed me money. Fast strings, mixed ammo, sweaty hands, reloads that were not clean, no soft little reviewer treatment. I wanted the shortcut to show up. The Tisas just kept acting more serious than its price, and that bothered me because I had already decided it had to be hiding something. It does not feel like a stopgap gun you buy until you can afford the real one. It feels like a working pistol that landed in the cheap aisle by mistake. Now, do not get lazy. Resale is not great. Long-term support does not match the big names. You buy performance here, not status. But for a budget 9mm that actually feels worth buying, the PX9 Gen 3 earns its place. I still watch it close. What came after this looked uglier, shot calmer, and made the price argument even harder. Man, what is that thing? That was the first review the Beretta A PSA 1 Compact got at the counter. Not from some expert, not from a guy with a timer around his neck. Just a dude shopping compact 9mm, holding it for 3 seconds, making a face, and setting it down like Beretta had personally offended him. I didn't blame him. The APX-81 Compact has that awkward look, like somebody built a serious pistol and forgot to make it good looking. Sitting beside cleaner looking carry guns, it does not win the glass case. It looks like the discounted one people explain away. Then it started shooting. Not loud, not dramatic, not some miracle moment. Just calmer than it had any right to be. The grip made more sense under recoil than it did in the hand at the counter. The slide tracked clean enough that the guy who laughed at it got quiet after one mag. That always tells me more than praise. This is where the money argument gets uncomfortable. A budget 9mm does not have to look expensive. It has to stop feeling cheap when rounds start moving. The APX does that. The flaw is still sitting there. The look turns people off. Glock pattern support beats it. Nobody buys this to impress the shop crowd. But calm shooting saves money longer than a sharp-looking mistake. And what came after this changed the whole price argument, because that one brought more than a pistol into the money fight. Your pistol is not the expensive part. The little junk around it is what bleeds you dry. Earlier this year, a guy 2 lanes down dumped his range bag open on a dusty table and found the wrong mags, the wrong holster, and 3 Allen keys that fixed absolutely nothing. Everybody laughed for about 2 seconds. Then the PSA Dagger Compact came out, and the laughing stopped. Suddenly, half that mess made sense. Spare mags, holster fit, optic talk, parts talk. That familiar Glock pattern world where saving money does not mean getting punished every time you need one more piece. That is where the dagger gets nasty in a budget fight. It does not feel expensive. The trigger has budget honesty. The finish is not fooling anybody. A guy with premium pistols at home will find something to complain about before the first mag is empty. But that is not the test. After you buy the gun, can you still afford mags? A decent holster, ammo, and enough range time to stop being a stranger to your own pistol. I watched the dagger run, while a more expensive pistol sat dead on the bench, waiting for the right plate, the right part, the right expensive excuse. That is when cheap versus smart got ugly. The dagger makes you wonder how much extra money you almost spent just to stand on the same firing line. The timer does not care what you paid. Outside San Antonio, heat sat under the covered line like wet carpet, and the Canik METE SF was in my hands while my shooting started getting sloppy. That is a bad time to lie to yourself. Split times stretch, front sight lift gets loud, and weak grip shows up on steel like a bad receipt. Plenty of lower price 9mm save money at checkout, then steal it back in missed shots, wasted ammo, and upgrades you swear you need. The METE SF did not make me good. It just stopped making my mistakes more expensive. The reset kept me moving. The grip locked in without a death grip. Front sight came back cleaner than my pace deserved. And the pistol kept me honest when I wanted to blame heat, sweat, ammo, anything but myself. That is the confidence tax people forget. Trigger work, different sights, new controls, extra range trips spent fighting the gun instead of learning it. The Canik showed up already usable under pressure, with enough size and capacity to feel serious without acting precious. Still, it is not tiny. Carrying it takes more belt than micro carry guys like, and Glock level support is not sitting behind it. But on a timer, the METE SF made excuses harder to hide. What came after did not beat it on speed. It beat it by making cheap carry hit closer to the ribs. Putting the Taurus G3C at number 2 is how you start a fight in the comments. Good. This pistol does not get a clean pass. I understand both sides because mine jammed twice in the summer of 2025. Hot day, cheap ammo, no dramatic explosion, just two ugly reminders that Taurus still makes people nervous. I do not bury that. A carry gun that coughs gets watched harder after that. But then I think about the guy staring into a pawn shop case with $300 and a problem at home. He is not comparing reset feel for fun. He needs one 9mm that can sit in a nightstand, ride in a glove box, disappear under a shirt, and not turn rent money into a pistol. That is where the G3C gets uncomfortable. Is not here because it shoots better than the Canik. It does not. It is here because access matters. Sometimes the best budget gun is not the one you brag about. It's the one you can actually afford before you need it. In 2026, do not buy a G3C blind. Check the exact pistol in your hand, run it hard, and make it earn trust before it becomes your only carry answer. I do not ignore the reputation. I do not ignore my 2 jams. I also do not ignore what a tight budget does to people. But the top pick did something the Taurus could not. It kept the price fight alive without making me carry the same doubts with it. Recommending a budget pistol gets ugly when the guy asking only has money for one. Cold Saturday in late February, I was behind my truck throwing empty boxes into the bed. Everybody had been doing that fake just looking routine, which usually means wallets are tight and pride is doing gymnastics. Then a guy I know caught me near the tailgate and cut through all the list making. Steve, I've got money for one 9mm. One? What are you buying? That is when the Stoeger STR-9 Combat stopped being another name on the table. Now my mouth had consequences. If the trigger felt rough 6 months later, he remembered me. If the pistol needed excuses, he remembered me. If that bargain turned into a trade-in and another purchase, I helped make cheap expensive. The Stoeger pulled away because I did not feel myself lowering my voice before recommending it. No apology, no Taurus-style doubt riding beside it. No big brand comfort blanket either. And yes, that still matters. Some buyers need a logo to sleep at night. Fine. Let them pay for that feeling. The STR-9 Combat feels like the cleanest one-gun answer here. Usable, serious, affordable, and not begging me to explain why it belongs. In 2026, that matters more than bragging rights. Not perfect, not magic, just the budget 9mm. I least regret pointing at when somebody cannot afford to be wrong. Not cheap for the sake of cheap, but budget guns that still make sense after the receipt cools off. If the pistol runs, shoots straight, carries without making you hate your belt, and still feels smart months later, it earns a place. If it saves $50 and costs you confidence, it belongs back under the glass. Now I want to hear where your money went. Which budget 9mm surprised you? Which one burned you so bad you still get irritated seeing it in the case? Don't give me brand worship. Give me the range day, the bad mag, the regret, the gun that quietly stayed. I'm Steve. Cheap is easy. Smart is where people start lying to themselves.